This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
The U.S. and Australia sign a rare earths deal as the Prime Minister visits the White House. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
We did have a tragedy averted today.
Police arrest a man who they say threatened to kill people at the nation's busiest airport. I'm Bob Brown.
The legal battle surrounding former FBI Director James Comey is intensifying. I'm Clayton Neville.
More fallout from that Young Republicans group chat on Telegram. Julie Walker, New York.
On Wall Street, stocks rallied on surprisingly strong iPhone 17 sales for Apple. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
Authorities say remains found in Philadelphia are of missing woman Kata Scott. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Disney and Hulu cancellations rose after ABC briefly pulled Jimmy Kimmel Live. I'm Ed Donahue.
All ahead on America in the Morning. President Trump welcomed Australia's Anthony Albanese to the White House on Monday, where the two leaders signed a rare earths deal the White House hopes will set off moves by China. John Stolnis has details from Washington.
The president and prime minister together signed an $8.5 billion deal that would see Australia export rare critical minerals to the United States.
We've been working on that for quite a while. In about a year from now, we'll have so much critical mineral and rare earths that you won't know what to do with them. They'll be worth about $2.
Albanese says the deal will be good for both nations.
Today's agreement on critical minerals and rare earths is just taking it to the next level, seizing those opportunities which are before us to take our relationship to that next level.
The deal comes as China announced this month that it will require foreign companies to get approval from the Chinese government before they can export magnets with even the tiniest amounts of rare earth minerals that come from China or are produced by Chinese technology, potentially hurting the supply chain for minerals that are used in things like laptops, phones, electric cars, and fighter jets. Experts say China has been manipulating the rare earths market in order to drive out competition from other countries, and that it will take years for any agreement to affect China's influence. The meeting also sought to strengthen the AUKUS security pact signed during the Biden administration, aimed at strengthening the partnership between the U.S., Australia, and the U.K. Trump was asked about tariffs imposed on Australia, a baseline of 10%, with some products seeing a 25 or 50% tax. Trump was asked why he's putting such a hard tariff on an ally.
Well, we do in some cases. We do in many cases because we've been treated unfairly. But actually, the tariffs are very light.
The president was also asked about the ongoing fight in Ukraine, saying it's a war that, quote, doesn't affect us, and that Ukraine could still beat Russia.
Well, they could. They could still win it. I don't think they will, but they could still win it. I never said they would win it. I said they could win. Anything can happen. You know, war is a very strange thing.
One awkward moment came when a reporter asked Trump about comments made by Australian ambassador to the U.S., former Prime Minister Kevin Rudd.
Where is he? Is he still working for you?
Yeah.
You said bad?
Before I took this position, Mr. President.
I don't like you either. I don't, and I probably never will.
In 2020, Rudd said on social media that Trump was the most destructive president in U.S. history. He's since deleted those remarks. John Stolnis, Washington.
A catastrophe was averted at one of America's busiest airports after police tracked down a man at the terminal of Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, armed and ready to kill. Bob Brown reports a tip from that man's family and quick police action potentially saved dozens of lives.
So he's a felon with a semi-automatic weapon, and he's got mental challenges, and he's approaching the world's busiest and most efficient airport. This crisis, we're thankful to God and to good information and good intel and good people for this crisis being averted. 27 or more lives could have been lost today.
Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens talking about the heroic action of police in tracking a suspected gunman identified as 49-year-old Billy Joe Cagle, showing up at the airport a little after 9:30 Monday morning with the intent of shooting people in the terminal with an assault rifle and 27 rounds of ammunition he kept in a truck parked outside the terminal.
When we went to that vehicle, we found inside a Springfield AR-15 assault rifle, a 5.56 St. Victor model, with 27 rounds of ammunition.
Authorities say the suspect's family tipping off local police who contacted Atlanta PD. In minutes, they tracked down Cagle, lying him down on the floor and cuffing him.
We did have a tragedy averted today. I, just a short while ago, spoke to 2 officers of this department and thanked them. Because if it were not for Officer Gibson and Officer Banks, and if it were not for their Sergeant Jones that was providing them, I do believe that Mr. Cagle was headed back to his truck to retrieve it, and I do believe he was likely to use that weapon inside the crowded terminal that he had just seen.
Cagle is facing multiple charges. Police say he's also a convicted felon with a history of mental health issues. I'm Bob Brown.
Calls for James Comey's indictment to be dismissed when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. On what we're watching in weather this morning, here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
We are watching 2 storm systems on the U.S. map today, one of which is centered in New England first thing this morning. This feature is leading to lingering clouds and showers mainly across Maine and New Hampshire. It will then shift into southeast Canada this afternoon with some sunshine returning. And the main system that we're looking at is in the Great Lakes today. It will be a steadier rain along the northern side of the system from northern Minnesota into northern Wisconsin and then carrying into Michigan. And on the southern and western side of the storm, there'll be some showers through the rest of Minnesota and Wisconsin into northern Illinois, southern Michigan, northern Indiana and Ohio. And then later in the day, there could be a few showers and a rumble of thunder from eastern Ohio into western Pennsylvania and western New York. It's going to be quite chilly behind this storm, helped by the clouds and showers. Highs will only be in the 40s in parts of the western Dakotas into Minnesota, and with gusts past 30 miles per hour, AccuWeather real field temperatures are going to drop into the 20s at times today. Otherwise, we're looking at quieter weather around the nation. There can be a few showers and thunderstorms in parts of eastern Texas into Louisiana as well as South Florida. But the rest of the plain states into the southeast and middle Atlantic will be largely dry today with a decent amount of sunshine, and highs will be in the 70s, 80s, and 90s in the south, while farther north it will be in the 50s and 60s. The west is also looking dry with plenty of sunshine as high pressure encompasses a good portion of the coast eastward to the Great Basin and into the Rockies. That's the weather across America. It's going to be a windy and chilly day in Minneapolis, Minnesota with some showers and occasional sunshine and a high of 48. Greensboro, North Carolina will be milder with sunshine and a high of 75. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Attorneys for former FBI Director James Comey are asking to have the indictment against him dismissed. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports that Comey's charged with making false statements to Congress and obstruction in a federal criminal case.
In a 50-page filing, lawyers for former FBI Director James Comey argued that their client was charged because of President Trump's personal animus. The documents say the case should be dismissed on grounds of vindictive prosecution. Comey's team argues that President Trump ordered prosecutors to charge Comey due to personal spite and because Comey had frequently criticized the president, who fired Comey from leading the FBI back in 2017. Another hearing in the case is set for November. It's been a busy few days for Comey's lawyers, who recently challenged the appointment of former White House aide Lindsey Halligan as an acting U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. Meanwhile, federal prosecutors are suggesting they could try to remove Comey's lead attorney, Patrick Fitzgerald, citing his possible role in the disclosures Comey made in 2017, shortly after he was fired as FBI director. The relationship's been called a potential conflict of interest. I'm Clayton Neville.
There's more fallout from the situation surrounding the Young Republicans group chat. Correspondent Julie Walker reports a Vermont state senator who took part in the racist chat controversy has resigned.
More fallout from that Young Republicans group chat on Telegram, in which members made racist comments and joked about rape and gas chambers. Vermont State Senator Sam Douglas is out of a job, resigning. Last week, comments he made in the group chat which lasted 7 months, were revealed. It involved leaders and lower-ranking members of the Young Republican National Federation and some of its affiliates in New York, Kansas, Arizona, and Vermont. Douglas was the only elected official involved. Vermont's top Republican leaders, including Governor Phil Scott, had called for Douglas to resign. Other participants in the group chat have faced repercussions, including a New York Young Republicans organization that was suspended. Julie Walker, New York.
Recent web outages explained. And the iPhone 17 moves the stock market. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. A recap of Monday's stock activity and more in business headlines with CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
On Wall Street, stocks rallied on surprisingly strong iPhone 17 sales for Apple. I'm Jessica Ettinger. Wall Street opens this morning after a rally for stocks on word that Apple has had some surprisingly strong sales for its iPhone 17 in both the U.S. and China. The Dow up 500 points, the NASDAQ up 300 points.
You've got an economy that's operating at a pretty good level, and you've got a Fed that's got to bring rates down, and you've got a dynamic where corporate earnings are pretty good. By the way, do I love multiples these levels? I don't. But these earnings, and you're watching productivity happen, and you have the level of cash that's sitting out there that, my guess is it continues to drive these markets higher.
BlackRock's Rick Reeder on CNBC, and Apple shares hit a record high yesterday on that surprise surge in iPhone 17 sales in the U.S. and China. And maybe something else.
The 17 is doing well, and I think that's why you're seeing the stock at a high. But what takes this higher? The only thing that could do that is a chat GPT that Apple develops as its own in-house AI available to consumers. The thing that none of us are saying out loud, but is buzzing like wildfire among Silicon Valley people, is that Apple has a secret project underway for employees only. It's their own in-house chatbot. Codename is Veritas. It is probably the early stages of what Apple's AI is actually going to be.
Ritholtz Wealth's Josh Brown on CNBC. Amazon's AWS, Amazon Web Services, with outages overnight Sunday and throughout the day on Monday globally.
AWS controls 37% of the global cloud market and brought in $107 billion last year, yet a single regional failure can still knock critical services offline worldwide. Cyber experts say this is not a hack, but it is a reminder of how fragile the internet gets when a few companies run its core infrastructure.
CNBC's Mackenzie Sigalos. Boeing shares were higher yesterday after the FAA said it could produce 737 MAX jets at a little faster rate.
42 per month is the new rate for 737 MAX production, up from 38 per month. It's the highest rate since late in 23, right before the Alaska Airlines door plug blowout.
CNBC's Phil LeBeau. On today's watch list, we get earnings from Coca-Cola, General Motors, 3M, and toy maker Mattel. McDonald's has boo buckets in restaurants today with the purchase of a Happy Meal for Halloween. The 80th NBA regular season tips off tonight, tip-off Tuesday with a doubleheader, Rockets at Thunder and Warriors at Lakers. The Mega Millions jackpot tonight, $650 million.
CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. Fallout from a late-night comedian suspension when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. A man is in custody following the disappearance of a Philadelphia woman nearly 2 weeks ago. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports an anonymous tip led police to the woman's body and their suspect.
Authorities say remains found in Philadelphia are of missing woman Kata Scott. Authorities said an anonymous tip led police back to the area they had initially searched, and they found the remains of Scott in a shallow grave. DNA tests confirmed her identity. 21-year-old Keon King of Dover, Delaware, has been arrested and charged with kidnapping, stalking, and other charges in Scott's disappearance. Prosecutor Ashley Teslowski told reporters they have evidence linking King.
What I can share is that the cell phone evidence, the call detail records, and timing advance data as it pertains to Keon King's mobile device puts him at all of the locations that we're talking about.
Philadelphia District Attorney's Office's CARES Unit Director Tanya Leonard says,
today we'll say her name, tomorrow we'll say her name, and forever we will say her name.
I'm Haya Panjwani.
The fallout of Jimmy Kimmel's brief suspension on ABC TV or Disney streaming services did not end well for either Disney or Hulu. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports.
Disney and Hulu cancellations rose after ABC briefly pulled Jimmy Kimmel Live. ABC faced criticism over Jimmy Kimmel's comments surrounding the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk.
You understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man.
Kimmel's show was pulled last month, and subscription analytics company Antenna says total cancellations in September were 4.1 million for Hulu and 3 million for Disney+. Disney owns ABC and Hulu. Some TV station owners briefly refused to air Kimmel's show, but the numbers also show signups were higher in September for both Hulu and Disney+ than the prior 5 months. I'm Ed Donahue.
America in the Morning for Tuesday, October 21st, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
President Trump seemingly ramping up his focus on achieving peace between Russia and Ukraine. I'm Clayton Neville.
President Trump and the Prime Minister of Australia signed an $8.5 billion deal over rare earth resources. Jennifer King, Washington.
Former NFL running back Doug Martin died after struggling with officers who were taking him into custody. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
I'll have details of yesterday's major internet outage. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
Vice President Vance heads to Israel. A judge rules on National Guard troops in Portland. A Trump nominee faces rebuke from Senate Republicans. And Robert Workman has a World Series preview. Back after these messages. America in the Morning continues. Welcome back. A check of the nation's weather. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy. What do we have?
The main system we're looking at on the weather map today is shifting through the Great Lakes, and we'll have steadier rain along the northern side of the system from Minnesota into Wisconsin and then carrying on to northern Michigan. And on the southern and western side of the storm, there are also going to be plenty of showers through the rest of Minnesota into Wisconsin, northern Illinois and southern Michigan, as well as northern Indiana and Ohio. There could even be a few showers and a rumble of thunder from eastern Ohio into western Pennsylvania and western New York. It is going to be quite chilly behind this storm with help from the clouds and showers. Highs in parts of the eastern Dakotas into Minnesota and Wisconsin will only top out in the 40s, and with the winds gusting past 30 miles per hour, AccuWeather real field temperatures will drop into the 20s at times today. Another storm we're following is centered in New England first thing this morning. This feature will lead to some clouds and a shower or two, mainly across Maine and New Hampshire, and then eventually shift into southeast Canada this afternoon with some sunshine returning. Otherwise, we're looking at quieter weather around the nation. There can be some afternoon showers and thunderstorms through parts of eastern Texas into Louisiana as well as South Florida. But the rest of the plain states into the southeast and mid-Atlantic will be largely dry today with a decent amount of sunshine. Highs in the south will run in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, while farther north, 50s and 60s will be a little more prominent. And the west is also looking dry with plenty of sunshine as high pressure encompasses a good portion of the coast eastward to the Great Basin and into the Rockies. Highs this afternoon will run in the 50s and 60s in the north to around low 90s in the south, which is about too far from the historical average. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
You can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. President Trump is turning his focus to ending the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine after speaking recently with leaders of both countries. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports this after a Ukrainian drone attack damaged a Russian gas refining plant, and Ukraine's president did not get the Tomahawk missiles he was hoping for.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was in Washington late last week meeting with defense companies to secure more weapons for his country in its fight against Russia. He also met with President Trump, who blamed the Biden administration on the war.
All they did is get deeper in. It's a shame. Gave them $350 billion. A lot of lives were lost. That's a war that would have never happened if I were president.
Trump critical of the amount of money given by the Biden administration to Ukraine, but hopeful he can get a deal done.
We're in the process of trying to make a deal. If we make a deal, that's great. If we don't make a deal, it'll be a lot of people are going to be paying a big price.
President Trump spoke with Russian President Vladimir Putin for several hours late last week over the phone. A point of contention for Russia in Ukraine has been territory, specifically the Donbas region, which the Kremlin's attempting to take and Ukraine's refusing to give up. President Trump, though, suggesting to reporters that Ukraine should let things lie. He said, quote, "You leave it the way it is right now, and they can negotiate something later on down the line." The president said he told Zelensky to cut and stop the battle line. Go home, he said, stop fighting. Zelensky agreed to some extent.
Yes, I agree that if we want to stop this war and to go to peace negotiations, to urgently and in diplomatic way, we need to stay where we stay. Not to give something additional to Putin because he wants. Because he's terrorist. That's it. I can't find other words.
Certainly not a concession of the Donbas region or any territory. Zelensky was speaking with NBC's Meet the Press when he gave conditions for any potential deal.
In any format, bilateral, trilateral, but we need to negotiate. Peace talks have to be in quiet, and quiet, quiet? Yeah. Have to be in quiet situation, not under missiles, not under drones.
There has to be a ceasefire in place before you can negotiate.
Yes.
President Trump is expected to meet with President Putin in a few weeks at a summit in Hungary. Zelensky said he'd attend that meeting if he was invited. No word, though, if that's going to happen. I'm Clayton Neville.
Vice President J.D. Vance and Second Lady Usha Vance have departed Washington for Israel, where the VP will work to advance the next phase of President Trump's Gaza ceasefire deal and will arrive in Tel Aviv today. Their trip comes amid violence in Gaza, where members of Hamas killed Palestinians in the streets they claimed were their enemies, and also fired on Israeli positions inside Gaza, which prompted Israeli forces to fire back. Correspondent Joe Fetterman reports that Israel, which temporarily halted aid shipments from going into the Gaza Strip over safety concerns, has resumed aid operations.
The Gaza ceasefire appears to have survived its first major test. Israel has accused Hamas of launching an attack that killed 2 Israeli soldiers in Gaza. The Israeli military responded with a series of strikes that killed over 40 people. But almost as quickly as this fighting erupted, it also died down, and the ceasefire now appears to be sticking for the time being.
They got very rambunctious, and they did things that they shouldn't be doing. And if they keep doing it, then we're going to go in and straighten it out, and it'll happen very quickly and pretty violently, unfortunately.
Both Israel and Hamas have said that they are committed to this ceasefire, and more importantly, the White House, President Donald Trump, has made it clear that he wants to see this agreement succeed. That means not only ending more than 2 years of fighting, but also launching a long-term process aimed at ending Hamas's control over Gaza and rebuilding the territory.
We're going to give it a little chance, and hopefully there will be a little less violence. But right now, they're violent people. Hamas has been very violent, but they don't have the backing of Iran anymore. They don't have the backing of really anybody anymore. They have to be good. And if they're not good, they'll be eradicated.
Now, 2 key White House envoys, Steve Witkoff and the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, are in the region. They have been meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The Vice President J.D. Vance also is expected. Their mission is now to move beyond this short-term truce and launch that process aimed at cementing a regional peace.
Correspondent Joe Fetterman. A former New York State prison guard has learned his fate in the case of the death of an inmate in his custody, while 2 others are acquitted. Details from correspondent Julie Walker.
As to count 1, murder in the 2nd degree, what is the jury's verdict? Guilty. As to count 2, manslaughter in the 1st degree, what is the jury's verdict? Guilty. Members of the jury, your foreperson has announced the following verdicts. Count 1, murder in the 2nd degree, guilty. Count 2, manslaughter in the 1st degree, guilty. Members of the jury, are those your verdicts?
Yes. The beating death of inmate Robert Brooks in December caught on body cam. Prison guards at Marcy Correctional Facility in upstate New York pummeling him.
Robert Brooks' death was caused by officers who lost it. They were undertrained, poorly supervised, and they work in an environment that's terrible. No excuse for what they did, and we have complete sympathy for Mr. Brooks.
A jury found former guard David Kingsley guilty of murder and manslaughter while acquitting Matthew Gallagher and Nicholas Kiefer.
I'm very appreciative of how the jury was and how they actually took their time to do their job and everything like that. I do want to show my remorse for the family. What happened to them was not something that a family should go through. I just am very appreciative of what the jury did and how they were able to deliberate and find me not guilty.
Special Prosecutor William Fitzpatrick says he respects the jury's verdict.
There's a single thing I could have presented to that jury to make it more clear about the involvement of the 2 defendants. They disagreed, and that's life.
5 other guards that were indicted in February had previously pled guilty to manslaughter in Brooks's death. Julie Walker, New York.
When we return on America in the Morning, National Guard troops to Portland. And tech reporter Chuck Palm explains the widespread internet outage. Those stories and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. A federal judge gave the go-ahead for the Trump administration to proceed with deploying National Guard troops to Portland, Oregon. The appellate ruling lifts a lower court block on the deployment of Oregon soldiers to the state's largest city. What is not clear is whether the order will allow the president to deploy National Guard troops from other states, as there has yet to be a ruling on that matter. Troop deployments to Chicago remain blocked by the courts. America in the Morning continues. President Trump vows to reach a fantastic deal with China as the 2 countries wrangle over tariffs and rare earth minerals that are crucial in modern technology. Correspondent Jennifer King reports this comes as the president met with Australia's Prime Minister at the White House.
President Trump and the Prime Minister of Australia signed an $8.5 billion deal over rare earth resources as the U.S. leader looks for countermeasures to China's new minerals export restrictions.
We work together very much on rare earths, critical minerals.
Washington and Beijing are playing hardball over tariffs, but President Trump expressed confidence he can work out a deal with Chinese President Xi Jinping.
China's paying 55% and a potential 155%. Come November 1st, unless we make a deal. And I'm meeting with President Xi. We have a very good relationship. We're going to be meeting in South Korea in a couple of weeks.
Beijing infuriated the Trump administration with the new requirement, which demands that foreign companies get approval from the Chinese government to export magnets containing even trace amounts of rare earth minerals originating from China. The products are used in everything from smartphones to fighter jets. Meanwhile, China ousted and replaced their top trade negotiator, who recently drew criticism from Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Jennifer King, Washington.
A nominee of President Trump is facing sharp criticism from Senate Republicans. Senate Majority Leader John Thune said Monday he hopes the White House withdraws Paul Ingrazia's Office of Special Counsel nomination. This following a report in Politico on alleged texts that showed him making racist remarks to fellow Republicans. Thune is on record saying that Ingrazia's nomination is doomed to fail, and 3 other senators, Florida's Rick Scott, Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, and James Lankford of Oklahoma, already announced they will not support the nomination. Ingrazia is scheduled to appear before the Senate Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee on Thursday. Shifting gears, a 36-year-old former NFL star died over the weekend after struggling with police officers while being detained. Correspondent Gethin Coolbaugh reports, audio courtesy Fox Sports.
9 from the 33. They go to Martin. Martin off the left side, breaks a tackle, and here's Martin again. Inside the 20, and Martin will get in for the touchdown.
Police in California say former NFL running back Doug Martin died after struggling with officers who were taking him into custody. Oakland police say it happened early Saturday while they were investigating a break-in at a home in Oakland. Police say Martin became unresponsive after being arrested. He was transported by paramedics to a hospital where he died. The Oakland native played in front of his hometown fans with Tampa Bay in 2012.
There's family from, back in the day, and school teammates and old high school football teammates, and everybody was there. It's awesome.
Martin was named a first-team All-Pro and made the Pro Bowl after rushing for 1,400 yards in 2015. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
The internet suffered a major blackout for most of Monday, especially along the eastern part of the U.S., as services across the tech sector fought hard to remain online. Chuck Palm has that in today's Tech Report.
Amazon Web Services stumbled badly on the U.S. East 1 region, triggering outages across a swath of major platforms. The most likely cause? An AWS update to their web services that scrambled website addresses, making it virtually impossible for traffic to find its way. Financial services like Coinbase and Robinhood froze, Venmo stalled payments, and Chime users couldn't access their accounts. Even ride-sharing services like Lyft vanished from screens nationwide. Social feeds and messaging services like Signal and Snapchat were offline, while even Amazon's own storefront, Prime Video, and Alexa devices joined in the silence. By late in the afternoon, many services had returned on Monday, while DownDetector.com noticed a few spotty outages, which is normal in this environment. A lot of tech titans depend on AWS services for their internet feed. For more tech updates, follow me on X at Chuck Palm.
Here's Tuesday Sports with America in the Morning's Robert Workman.
For the first time in 32 years, the Toronto Blue Jays are your American League champions. Game 7 of the ALCS in Toronto last night, the Blue Jays shaded the Mariners 4-3 to get their first trip to the Fall Classic since 1993. Each team pushed across the run in the first inning. Then Seattle unpacked the lumber. Julio Rodriguez launched one to left center in the third inning. Then home run king Cal Raleigh did his thing in the fifth for a 3-1 lead. But the Jays got their first two men on in the seventh, and George Springer hit a 3-run dinger to left.
They have bats before me. I mean, if it's not for those guys, that moment doesn't happen. I'm so happy for our team, our fans, our city, our country. I'm so happy right now.
The Mariners went meekly over the last two innings, and the celebration was on at Rogers Center, where the World Series begins on Friday against the Dodgers. L.A. aiming to become the first team to repeat as world champions since 2000. A Monday night double dip to wrap things up in Week 7 of the NFL. The Lions bounced the Buccaneers 24-9. Jahmyr Gibbs had TD runs of 5 and 78 yards. Zach Charbonnet had 2 short touchdown runs to lead the Seahawks over the Texans 27-19. NHL, the Golden Knights blew by the Hurricanes 4-1. Vegas now leading the league with 12 points. Wins for the Jets, Canadiens, Wild, and Flyers. And the NBA season begins tonight. The Thunder open defense of their title at home against the Rockets. Then it's the Warriors at the Lakers. That's Tuesday Sports.
What we're learning from the Louvre heist when America in the Morning continues after these messages. New revelations have emerged in the It Ends With Us lawsuit. Details from entertainment reporter Kevin Carr.
The lawsuit Blake Lively has filed against Justin Baldoni about the filming of It Ends With Us has a new twist. This week, Lively's lawyers filed an audio recording of a phone call between Baldoni's business partner Steve Sarowitz and filmmaker Claire Ayoub. Ayoub wrote and directed Empire Waste for Baldoni and Sarowitz's company Wayfair. In September, she filed a declaration that she suffered, quote, repeated negative interactions and, quote, verbal abuse from Baldoni, who produced the film. In the call, Sarowitz commends Baldoni for the atmosphere on his sets and disputes the allegations Lively has made.
Justin never has a bad set. Yes, it was the worst set he's ever been on, but no, it wasn't bad. I was there on set. It was, it was just everything was made up. It was manufactured, and it was manufactured on purpose in order to take Justin down.
Sarowitz also went on to say he's ready to do whatever it takes to protect the studio.
If they ever get me to that point, then I'll make it worth their while, because I'm going to spend a lot of money to make sure the studio is protected.
Also in the conversation, Ayub responds positively to working with Baldoni.
Basically, people love Justin, and they still love Justin.
Yeah, that's good.
And if you meet Justin, how could you not love Justin?
I know.
Ahead of the March 2026 trial and a December 9th court hearing, People reports that co-stars Jenny Slate and Isabella Ferrer have been deposed, as has the original novel's author, Colleen Hoover. Lively's husband, Ryan Reynolds, and friend Taylor Swift were not on that list. I'm Kevin Carr.
The investigation in France continues after the brazen theft by 4 suspects of priceless Napoleonic jewels at the Louvre Museum, happening just feet away from the famed Mona Lisa portrait. Correspondent Karen Shamas reports the most visited museum in the world will remain closed until Wednesday.
The Louvre in Paris remained closed on Monday, a day after a daring daylight heist saw historical jewels stolen from the world's most visited museum. The museum staff asked dozens of visitors who were queuing in front of the glass pyramid entrance to leave. On Sunday, thieves rode a basket lift up the Louvre's facade, forced a window, smashed display cases, and fled with priceless Napoleonic jewels. In a TV interview, France's culture minister said it was a well-planned operation, as the thieves managed to steal the jewels in 3 minutes and 52 seconds, each one knowing exactly where to go. The theft occurred about 30 minutes after the museum opened, with visitors already inside, and was among the highest profile museum thefts in living memory. Bill Pfeiffer from Philadelphia, who was queuing on Monday, said he knew friends who were in the museum at the time of the robbery.
And then they said there was a police action, and they're closing all the exits, and we don't know what's going on, and there's guys with guns here. And
the theft has prompted authorities to reassess security measures at cultural sites across France. I'm Karen Chamas.
America in the Morning for Tuesday, October 21st, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.